we are going to learn some very useful tips and tricks on how we can enhance our interfaces. We're also going to learn about the newest features that are upcoming for our interface design. And we're also going to introduce our upcoming dev agent that is going to help us also work as a developer in order to accelerate the process for our UI designs. So the agenda for today is welcome you everybody, welcome. Then we're going to have a build. We're going to do hands-on exercises. So make sure I will guide you to where you can get your exercise guides. We are going to be following the steps in there. So if you miss anything, you can refer to the exercise guide, or you can go around and ask for the experts in the room. We have experts around the room that are going to help you with any question that you may have, or if you have any steps, if you're stuck in any step that you may need help getting to the next step, you can refer to the room experts. Other questions will be saved till the end because it is a 45-minute workshop. So please, if the room experts can raise your hands, all right? They are going to be walking around the room helping you get set up or anything else. All right, so let's talk about interface designs. How many of you have worked with the interface object in Appian? All right, quite many of you, amazing. So we already know that with Appian, it can be very easy. We can use a lot of the drag and drop options. We have a lot of components out of the box in order to get us started really fast with our interfaces. But we already know also that we can do generated forms. That is something that we're gonna cover today. So we can do generated actions, and it will automatically create a form for us so that we can get started and accelerate the process further. We also know that if we want anything specific to our data fabric or anything specific to our application, we can always use expressions, and they can seamlessly integrate into our interfaces. So you can do it out of the box, or you can have a full customizable experience. And also testing. Please do not forget to test. We already know that. But yes, robust testing features are going to help us have a successful interface experience. Again, some of the objects that we use in Appian are going to be the interface object. We're going to have the site object, which is where all of our pages are going to live in. And we also have portals. For this session, we are only going to be working with the interface object and with the site object. Now, our use case. What is the task? We have a company called NextGen who has been paying for a license for a task management program, and they want to stop doing that. They want to take advantage of Data Fabric, and they want to bring in their project management and task management program in-house. So that's what we are going to be doing today for the purposes of this exercise. What do they want? They want to have a wizard creator where they are going to be able to put in information about a certain project, the tasks associated to that project, and also any documents that may be associated to that project. So we're going to create a wizard for them. The next thing that they want is a centralized place where they can see all of the project information, all of the task information, and all of the documents associated to them, so that they can have a nice bird's eye view of their entire process, as well as a calendar with upcoming tasks. And the last thing that they are telling us is that they have very strict branding guidelines. As interface developers, we understand that we want to make sure that the guidelines for branding and marketing are always abided by. So we are going to be doing that. Okay. Again, these are the exercises. There are going to be 4 exercises that we are going to be working with. One is going to be generating that wizard form, creating some test scenarios. Then we are going to be creating the homepage. And then we are going to edit the branding so that it's pertinent to that company. So now let's move on to the build. Again, make sure you are into devcon26.appian.community and use your community credentials. If you don't have a laptop, we have a few loaner laptops in the back that you can use. So please ask the room experts to help you set those up. Now, let's move on onto the environment. Again, the environment is here to DevCon 26. Other sessions are going to use one DevCon, so please pay attention to the URL. In here, you're gonna see a page that says either Get My Workspace or Take Me to Designer. Since this is the first session of the day, you're probably gonna get the Get My Workspace. Make sure to click on that, and you will get a unique ID. Make sure to use that unique ID throughout the entire session. That is going to be useful for the prefixes in each object that you create, and that is going to be the application that you're going to use. So I'm gonna click on Take Me to Designer. And we all should see a page like this. This is our designer. This is where our applications live. My ID is going to be 008. Your ID may look different. Let's all go to the task management application that has your correct identifier. So I'm gonna click on task management, and we are going to be in this page, which is the Explore page. If you haven't used Appian before, the Explore page is where everything is organized by object type. But the page that we want to be working on for the rest of the session is going to be the Build tab. So on the left side, the Shapes icon, we are going to click on Build so that we can go to where all of our objects are. Okay, this is the list of all of the objects in Appian. The first exercise, again, is going to be creating that wizard form. We are going to be creating a new project. The user is going to be creating a new project. So we are going to go to the project record type. On the left side, we can see the object types. Let's all click on record type so that we can filter by record. And we can see in here that we have the project record with our identifier. So let's click on project. Okay. Again, in here we have our data fabric, the fields for our project type, but on the left side, under user experience, we're all gonna go to actions. Okay. Anybody in here have worked with generating actions before? Okay, a few of them. Okay, amazing. So generating actions is very nice. It'll create things automatically for us to get us started. So again, on the user experience in actions, let's click on generate record actions. You can see in here that Appian will create 3 separate record actions. For our exercises, we only care about 2. We only care about create and update. So we are going to deselect delete. I'm going to click on here, and create and update are going to be checked. Let's just leave those as is, and we're going to click on next. We want to tell it what data do you want to use in order to create our wizard. We can use the related records, which are project documents and tasks, in addition to our primary record, which is project. So let's click on project documents and task. And let's click on next. Okay. We can see as well that the recommended template that is given us is a full header wizard. But if we scroll down, we'll see that there are a few different forms that we can choose. So there are a couple different types of wizards or just a plain form. Let's just keep the wizard. It will usually recommend this type of form for a one-to-many relationships. So our record has a one-to-many relationship to tasks and documents. And let's all click on generate. it may take some time in order to generate because record actions are not only creating the form, they are creating the process model behind the action. In our case, we have a create project form. We have in here also the process model. And we can see that it says create or update because we chose create and update whenever we were generating the form. Appian said, I can just use one object and create some logic to toggle in between create or update. So there will only be one process model in one interface, but there will be two different actions. We'll have the new project action and the update action. So that is a spiel on the actions. Are very useful, especially for the commonly used like create or update or delete. Okay, so the next step is now going to our interface. Let's click on create or update project. Make sure to click on the start from interface, the icon that's appropriate for it. And let's take a look at our form. We can see that we can include some details like the name, the description, the status, the color. And if you click outside on the gray space, on the right side, we can see our component configuration. If you scroll down a little bit, we'll be able to see the wizard steps. So I'm gonna click on project documents in order to show you what is the second step, which is to upload a document. And again, I can click outside on the gray space and I can move to task. Or I can also, to move back, I can go to where it says wizard step. On the left side, I can see wizard layout. And it'll take me back to the same window. I also wanted to highlight that the way our component configuration it's slightly different if you had used it in the past. Now we have tabs to organize by purpose. So we have the content, behavior, styling. Before it was all one where you had to scroll down. So that may look a little bit different. But let's all go to details. We're gonna stay in the details. And I wanna point your attention to this Boolean checkbox component. So if you hover over where it says private, you can see in there that we have a Boolean checkbox component. This is new. This is something that we're introducing. Before, in order to have a checkbox that will toggle between true and false, we used to have the regular checkboxes where you had to do a little bit of manual work in order to get it to work just like this. But now, if you just click on private, for example, assuming this is a private project for the CIA or something, I don't know. We click in here, and on the right side, under rule inputs, we can expand on project, and we can see that it's toggled to true. If I unclick it, it'll be toggled to false. This is useful for, again, trying to make a project private, or if you ever have something where it says accept terms and conditions, that can be useful in there as well. No tweaking or manual work. I also want to show you something else. On the right side, in component configuration, you can see that there are two arrows in there next to Boolean checkbox. That is a convert button. If I click on the convert, you can see that you can convert to a toggle field. So let's all click on convert to toggle field. Okay? So what that does is that it searches for the equivalent component. So functionality-wise, it works the same, it just looks different. The toggle fields are nice because you can use them for an application where you have to change the settings. A toggle will make it look a little bit more professional. And this is just a simple way to change in between components to see what else is out there in terms of design. So I'm gonna keep it as a toggle. And we are going to click on save. All right, so what we are going to be doing next is creating a new step. So if we click on the gray space again, and we go to the wizard steps on the right side, I'm going to add a wizard step. And we are going to click on wizard step on the right side, and we are going to rename it to review. Whenever we are creating anything, we always have that last page that it tells us all the information that we put to make sure everything's correct. That is going to be our review page. So I'm going to click on save. Remember, Appian does not auto-save, so you always want to be saving. And now I want you to, you can continue working on the exercises if you want, but I'm going to show a demo of our dev agent. So you will not have access to this because this is pre-beta, it's still in the works, but we want to give you a little tease of what this will look like in the future. So I'm going to switch environments. This is a different environment. And I want to show you the same form. We have our review step. And at the top, we can see that next to design mode, expression mode, we have now something that it says AI mode. If I click in here, it says it has our dev agent and a what would you like to build. I'm going to paste a prompt that I already had, but essentially what it does is that you can tell it exactly what you want, and depending on the maturity of the dev agent, we'll have some instructions, and it will tell us what it's going to do about it. So for example, in here, I told it that I want a page, a summary page for all of my information from my rule input, so from my project. And it's telling me I'll get some of the interfaces. I'm going to create a different component. This is some of the things that it's telling us that it's going to do, and then it's going to go on building.
Did you pull that up?
Oh, this is only a demo. Yeah. It's still in the works, guys. We're very excited to show it, so that's what we're going to be doing. But this is kind of where we're trying to get, especially with interfaces. There are times where we're going to have a lot of components, and we definitely want to just tell it in natural language, hey, build me this. So this is going to take a little bit of time. Again, it's in the works. So I'm going to switch back, and then I'll come back later to see what it did. So I'm going to switch back to our environment. And now let's all be on exercise 2. Exercise 2 is going to be page 8. Oh, I think I forgot to mention something. The exercise guide. Okay. So if we go back to Designer, if you go to the waffle menu, you can see in here that we have a tab called Exercise Guides. So let's click in here, and you can see the UI design. It'll download the workshop guide. So, yeah? Yeah. If I go to the designer, yeah, and go to the waffle menu, and go to exercise guides, you'll be able to get your page to the exercise guide and download it. So now I can tell you that we're on page 8 for exercise 2, which is going to be creating some test scenarios. So let's all go back to our create or update project. This is the interface that we're working with. And we're going to start creating some test scenarios. At the top, you can see test. Let's click in here. Let's all click on test. And we'll see this window with ad hoc test. We have some places for information for our rule input. We have for project and its update. Just as a refresher, rule inputs are how we can pass data back and forth for an interface. We are going to start typing rule. And I'm going to start typing get project by ID. In my case, I have 2 workspaces, but I'm going to choose the one with my identifier. You should be able to only see one. And in the parentheses, I'm going to type in a 2. What this is doing behind the scenes is just querying my record type project and I'm grabbing the one with identifier 2. That is what I'm going to use to populate my test data in my interface. At the bottom where it says is update, I'm going to click on true. And we are going to be saving this as new scenario. And the name of this scenario is going to be called update project. Okay, we can go create and test. And I'm going to go to the right and go to save. Now, if I go to my drop down, so next to tests, we see a drop down. We can see that there's a button that says manage test scenarios. At the moment, I only have one, but you can have multiple test scenarios. And this is a new functionality that it's been added recently. What you can do with this is have multiple test scenarios for, you may have more complicated interfaces with different test data. And you can run them all. So if we all click on run all, at the moment I only have one, but if you have more, you can also run them all. You can see the loading time of that specific test, and if there are any errors. I don't have any errors on mine, but this is really useful because you don't have to recreate manually all the steps that a user would do in an interface. You can just quickly see every time you've made a change, are my tests okay? And that just accelerates the development process. So let's click on close. And we can see in here that some data has been populated. So let's scroll down and go to next. And now we are at the project documents step. So we can see in here that we have our project document that was queried from our record. And you can see also the 3 dots to the right side. This is also an update to the file upload component. Now we can edit details, we can preview. So if I click on preview, I can see my document. I can print it, download it, I can close. I can also edit details. So I can click in here, and I'm just going to change this to budget. Now the way it will be saved is with my new name. So this is helpful whenever you want to standardize the way you're saving your documents instead of having 1234.pdf, you know, so. Okay. Now that should be it for exercise 2. We run some test scenarios and we also created a wizard. So I'm going to go back to the guide and point you to what we're going to be doing next. Now, let's move to exercise 3, which is going to be creating a user homepage. So let's all move back to the designer. And on the left side, we are going to deselect record type. And let's search for interface. So we'll click on interface. And let's search for the interface that says my work. I'm going to click on my work. And we can see in here an empty interface. You should all be able to have access to that one and see something like this. If I scroll to the right side, I can see that there is another pane with a calendar and some of the tasks for the week. This is a pane component. I'm going to now search for a tabs. So if I start typing tabs, I can see in here this new component called tabs where I can just click and drag it. Make sure that the window is highlighted in pink to drop it in the right place. And we have our tab layout. This is a new component also where you can easily switch between tabs whenever you want to organize a lot of information that you have. So we can change the name of the tabs. If I go to the right side, again, in component configuration, top layout, we have our top item. We are gonna put in projects. We can change the icon. I'm gonna choose a shapes icon. And I'm going to be doing the same for the second tab, which I'm going to be calling tasks. For the icon, let's choose bullet points. Okay. So let's all click on projects again. And in the palette, we have a design library. So let's click on design library. Design library is very nice because you can put in here interfaces that are used throughout your application, and you'll have them easily accessible. And you can just drag and drop an entire interface. If you have worked with interfaces before, you also can call in rule bank and then call the interface. But if you add them to the design library, there's no need to do that. Let's all click on project dashboard. And we're gonna drop it on where it says drop component here. Okay, let's leave this as is. This is the rule input for the interface that we're putting in, but it's already populated, so let's click OK.
Does that mean it's guessing from like the name?
Yeah, I think so. So if we go to tasks, we can do the same for tasks Kanban and drop it. And it'll be doing the same. Yeah, it's a refresh rule input, and then we have a local called refresh, so it's mapping it. Let's click OK. And now we have our two interfaces inside our overarching interface. So tabs are really nice. I think before, you might have worked with dynamic link or trying to create a button, adding a link, trying to make this moving from tab to tab was a little bit different, right? So this should make it much quicker, and you can even change the colors if you go to styling. Right now it's on accent color. You can work with this, play with this after the session, but yeah, really exciting. Also the pane layout. Pane layout, this is where we have our tab layout. You can scroll independently. So that adds a further layer of organization. So you can have multiple panes. So let's all click on save. And we have our homepage for our user. They can see all of the project information in there. Let's move to exercise 4, which is going to be page 18, which is creating the branding. That was the third requirement for a customer, right? They have strict branding guidelines. Let's go back to Designer. Let's unselect Interface. And let's select Site. If I click on Task Management, there should only be one site. We should already see the homepage that we just edited. And on the left side is where you can change the branding of your site, like the color, the accent color, adding the multiple pages that you may need. You can change the layout between header bar, sidebar. We also have the way you want your tabs to look. We have helium, mercury, and oxygen, which puts the tabs to the right side. That one is also a new style. But if you scroll all the way to the bottom, in the branding section, we can see a new option that says CSS profile, which right now is set to default. So let's all click on it, and let's change it to customer brand. You can see that the colors have slightly changed, the borders have slightly changed. Some of the fonts are slightly different. A CSS profile is a new way where you can put in all of the values for multiple components in Appian, such as borders, headers, colors, and you can save them and apply them to the application. So you don't have to be doing that on each interface. You can do that and it will apply to all of your interfaces because it's a global feature for the application. So let's all click on save. And before we move on, I want to show you on the right side, we have a CSS preview. This is an interface not related to the project, but I want to showcase how it looks like whenever I switch between the default and I switch between the customer brand. Okay, you can see that it's like slight changes, such as borders, and but this is something good if you want, again, the standardization in all of your interfaces.
How do we see what that actually looks like with the profile itself?
Like the settings,
Yeah.
that would be on the administration console. Let me show you. So if I go to save, you will not have admin access, so you can just take a look, but this is how it would look like. I'm in my administration console, and I can see in here that I have my default, and I have my customer brand. And you can add many CSS profiles. If I go to edit, I can see in here exactly what I'm changing. The background color, the header, the font size. You can see the documentation it will show you exactly what is it that you can edit. But that is something that you would do on the administration console, and you can have multiple of them.
Is that in the upcoming version, or is that already out?
I think that's already out. Yeah. Okay. So let's all move back to our to our site. And we can click on the web address. And this is our final page. Our customer wanted a home page, and they wanted to be able to create a project from a wizard. We just created that for them. I want to revert back to our dev agent and see what it did for our review page. Okay, so we can see in here that it told us what it did, some project detail section, some project documents section, and some of the tasks section, since we told it to use the information from the rule input. And it created this in a matter of minutes. I didn't really count how much it took, but that will depend as the feature gets developed. Again, it's new, but it's a very nice way to accelerate the process. You can type in what is it that you want for your interface, and then you can go and work on another interface. If you don't like what it did, you can always just edit. It's a really nice starting point where you can then go and change the specifics that you really want for your application. Also, the dev agent is going to be available throughout the designer. It's not only for interfaces. So whenever you are in designer, you should be able to see the dev agent in here, and you can work with multiple objects. So that is upcoming, so please stay tuned. I think the rest of the Appian World sessions will also touch upon the dev agent. So very exciting things.
One question there. On the dev agent, did it actually use the edit screen that you had in the project and task, or it actually created a new page?
It used the same screen, but sometimes, depending on what you tell it, it could create a new interface. So that will depend, again, on the prompt, and AI is not deterministic. So if I give it the same prompt, it could give me a slightly different version of the same window. So it will be your companion. You are going to be developing with the agent, if you choose to, because it's not deterministic. Okay. Any more questions? Yes.
Back to the file upload, that new feature where you can preview the document. Is that only for PDFs?
No, you should be able to do that with images.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for the preview, I think it will depend on the file as well, because some files will not have a preview. Yeah, but yeah. Yes.
For the tabs, do they load separately when they load the screen performance-wise, or do they both load at the same time?
They both loaded at the same time, I believe.
Is there a way to, because if I have too heavy,
Too many tabs with too many information.
I can say it's coming. Right now they all load, but they're working on it.
okay,
Do you know or can you tell when it would come out?
I don't know exactly, but soon. They're working on it right now.
okay, great.
Yeah, and you can also do like the load test scenarios, because you'll see in there how much it took. So they both are coming like in handy. Yes, of course. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much for coming to transform your UI designs. Again, the exercise guide is going to be available for you guys, and the environment should be available for how long do you think it'll be available?
It's for the rest of the conference.
For the rest of the conference. So you'll be able to play around and even tweak it even further to your liking. All right. Thank you.